Bring in Chairman of the Senate Republican Conference, Wyoming Senator John Barrasso joins us now. Senator, good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to be with you, Sandra.
And you heard the president's reaction at the briefing to Harvard receiving that money, although they didn't say they applied for those funds under PPP. This fell under the CARES Act for academic purposes. So I'd be curious, do you think Harvard should give back that money? And how do you assure the American people that despite Congress securing all this money, that it's going to get into the hands of those small businesses that need it most?
Well, the president is absolutely right. Harvard shouldn't be getting all of this money. The focus of the legislation, the CARES Act, is to rescue the American economy at a time when we are under attack from a disease. And my focus has been hospitals as well as small businesses. What we needed to do and did yesterday in the Senate is basically put additional money into the Paycheck Protection Plan. That's the program to allow small businesses to borrow money and keep people on the payroll. It has worked very successfully in Wyoming. Thousands of these awards, millions of dollars going out, people staying on the payroll. To me, that's what this has been all about. But we saw again this time the Democrats playing politics, trying to get political leverage rather than focusing on the needs of American workers. When we know 20 million Americans are out of work right now, we needed to do better, quicker. This should have never run out of money. Basically, we saw it coming. It ran out a week ago. That has now been refilled. The president's ready to sign it. I talked to him about it recently.
Despite the securing of this round of relief, Democrats, Chuck Schumer, pushing for even more relief money to go out. I'd be curious to see if you support it. Here's Chuck Schumer.
Big, broad, bold COVID-4. For anyone who thinks this is the last train out of the station, that is not even close to the case. Election reform, money for housing, the Postal Service, money for a Heroes Fund, and at the top of the list is a big, robust state and local plan.
So, Senator, do you support a big, broad, bold COVID-4 as Senator Chuck Schumer just laid out?
No, what I support, Sandra, is reopening the American economy, getting Americans back to work. Now, we need to do it safely. We need to do it smartly, use science, do the things that Dr. Birx has talked about in Wyoming. We have many communities that fit right now into phase one. I'm looking forward to opening those, and people really do want to get back to work. They're not looking for aid from the government. People want to get back to work, back to their normal lives. And as long as we can do it safely, we need to move in that direction sooner rather than later, Sandra.
You obviously come from a very unique perspective on all this, having the medical background that you do, Senator. I'd be curious, you mentioned Dr. Birx. She was asked about the CDC's warning that COVID-19 could come back with a vengeance come next winter when you combine it with flu season. Here's how she responded to the question on that.
We can monitor communities at the community level by using the influenza-like illness. I don't know if it will be worse. I think this has been pretty bad. When you see what has happened in New York, that was very bad. I believe that we'll have early warning signals, both from our surveillance that we've been talking about on the vulnerable populations.
You've put a lot of thought into this, Senator. What do you think? What happens come next winter when you've got this combined with flu season, possibly?
Well, it is possible. Number one, everybody ought to get a flu shot going into next winter. Number two, in terms of therapeutics and treatment, I think we're going to know a lot more about coronavirus. By then, we're going to have much more available in terms of testing. I think we'll be much better be able to deal with that and flu season. I think people will be ready for it. I think what's important right now is safely opening up our communities using the science and all of the outlines that Dr. Birx has come up with. I think the phase one, phase two, phase three is the way to go. And when next flu season hits, I want this economy really churning away successfully. Again, that's what we need to do for America, Sandra.
Senator, some will point out that you're saying this from the state of Wyoming, where, throw it up on the screen, case numbers, 441 cases, only 6 deaths. Your state has largely been spared. I know that you are aggressively talking about reopening the economy, getting things going again in Wyoming. Some fear that reopening the economy, even if it's a slow reopen, that we could see cases surge. Are you concerned about the way we reopen, the speed at which we reopen could change things in your state and the standing that it has.
I think you're always worried about a surge, and we are here. We're continuing to socially distance. People are continuing to protect the most vulnerable. Our elderly continue to wash our hands thoroughly, doing all of the right things that are outlined in phase 1 and then moving to phase 2 and phase 3 of the reopening of America. Every community has to be concerned about that. We need to get our economy going again, and I believe the best ways to do that are places where the numbers are low, where we've had a declining number of cases, where the 14-day metrics have been successfully put into place, where there is enough testing available and people continue to do the right thing. I trust the people of Wyoming and the people of America to do the right thing at a time like this.
Did you have any thoughts on the protests that we've continued to see across the country in some areas where they say enough is enough, let's reopen, let's get back to work, and there has been criticism that they have not engaged in those social distancing measures, endangering themselves and the communities around them? Senator, final thoughts.
Well, people have suffered significantly in terms of our finances, in terms of we're not want to give up our freedoms, and the impact of this virus on the lives of every American. Everyone's been hit, either from a medical standpoint or an economic standpoint. I certainly understand the Constitution and our rights to assemble and come out. I think we need to be wise in how we do it, protecting ourselves, our communities, our neighbors, certainly the most vulnerable. I understand what people are doing and why they're doing it. I think we need to do it wisely.
All right, Senator John Barrasso, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Sandra.